technically a historical classic written in 1937. Turning Wheels by Stuart Clutter. Yeah, guys. So I read my first Stuart Clutter book, was a collection of short stories, The Soldier Speeches, last year. It blew my mind. And I was wondering, okay, what to expect from this? What can I expect from this? This was Stuart Clutter's first book he ever published. His first novel, I will say. And it's published 1937. So it's a while back, right? Yeah. And okay, it deals with Turning Wheels. I really love this cover. I hope it's not. I'm trying not to have the shine show up too much there. I really love this cover. Even the lady holding the gun there, the guy at the back. It does give like, yeah. It deals with the Groot Trek. Okay, now Stuart Clutter was I ended up like going to buy more of his books. Like, because of the short speeches, I looked for more of his books. I couldn't find them anywhere except for secondhand. Seems like all of them are out of print, except for a very few select. And I decided, and I got, this was his first book, and I was like, okay, I mean, Soldier Speeches was later on, but it was short story collection, and he says, and he was like, no, but short stories are written to everybody, so you don't try and go too crazy with them. And I really loved that. I thought the writing was so good. So okay, no, let me, if you want to go specific and see, and you're not afraid to just tell your story, let's see what you got. And I thought, okay, it's his first. It may be, and there's some rough edges. It might get, and maybe there is some rough edges, but oh no, there is not rough edges. But what it is rough. This book, it sucked me in, and I mean, it tells a story about people from a country, from my own country, and about a time period I want to know more about, and the people that are technically my ancestors, if you can think like. So of course I was going to find this fascinating. It's about the Groot Trek. The Great Trek is like that. It was so it deals with groups of white settlers moving out of the Cape Colony into the rest of South Africa, really, Southern Africa, to be truthful, looking for new places to stay to escape the British government. They didn't want to live under British rule, right? Now you could think, it's not like Southern Africa was empty. There were people, there were tribes, peoples living there, like empires. I mean, the Zulu Empire was still in Southern Africa at that time. So this tells the story of them going in and like the experiences and the hardships and everything that happens, the conflicts they get with the locals. What I love about what Stuart Clutter does, and you can tell that he wasn't, what I think Stuart Clutter is in a unique place to tell these stories in a way that is not too close to it, but close enough to it to really get the detail in. He wasn't born in South Africa, but his father was a South African. And then after World War One, he was also another guy that fought in World War One. So I've got a lot of World War One veterans in here, this month. He went to South Africa and he worked on a farm and farmed himself for 20 years before he became a writer. So he knew the people and the stuff and everything. And the way, I've never seen anybody get it so right. The way that those people were described and the things about them and the ideas and the stuff that... He also gets the way they speak English and they little quirks and stuff like ach. Like South Africans still to this day we say ach a lot, ach. Even when it's like ach, you know, ach, you know this and the word cadence, and he gets that cadence perfect. But the characters in this is where it blows up. The characters and the events of this, the story it tells, it is sweeping, it is epic, but the characters pop off the screen. It's unbelievable and shocking and disturbing at times. Stuart Clutter does not hold back. This might be the darkest book I've ever read in many ways. And sometimes it's like simple things. It's just like illness and sickness and how that affected people going in. But it's also the conflict between groups of people that don't like each other, coming into contact, that that have horrible views of the other people. He does not shy away from the racism of both the Afrikaners and anybody. It's like anybody he doesn't shy away. He doesn't try and paint anybody in a beautiful color. He's like, but he also doesn't try to just make them villains. That's also not a thing. These are fully fledged characters that you will love them, you will appreciate them, you'll care for them, and then you will hate a lot of the ideas they have. And this is across the board, whether it's a black character, a white character, from whatever ethnicity leaves. And he also does a good job in the Bible thumping that, and then showing that not all of them was like that, but a lot of them was like that. There are at least 2 characters in here that will be part of all time characters for me. Tant Anna de Jong, which is a very large, excessively large white lady that shouldn't be, that like they need help taking her off a carriage and stuff. But her mind, there's nothing wrong with her mind, and she's quick with it and stuff. And she will, yeah, she will say a thing like she sees it. She doesn't have nonsense about it, and she's. Tant Anna de Jong has no chill. That's what I'll say. Tant Anna de Jong has no chill. Now, if Tant Anna de Jong has no chill, she's this fascinating, intelligent character, like that keeps wrong footing you. When you think this about her, she tells you can't get a hold of her. Now, and if she's elusive, the other one, Runkels. Runkels is a native South African. Like it's never said what ethnicity is from. He's black, but it's never said from what tribe or something. And Stuart Clutter keeps that stuff very vague for a reason. I think it's because there were so many different people. We're not going to try and chick. You kind of have to understand like that. Runkels is and first when you read him, and this is something he does with a lot of the characters, and from all of it, he kind of seems to be like a caricature of something, right? Runkels seems it, iemand Tant Anna de Jong seems it, like Hendrik van der Berg seems it, his son Herman seems it, Annie, is it Anneke? What is her name again? I think it's Anneke, but the female. But this is a great thing. It's like he shows the female perspective just as much as the male perspective in this. It's not like all of them, no matter, are complex, difficult characters, and that make with complex, questionable ideas that are very much of their times. But he never lets you be able to box a character in. They will always surprise you. They will always show you more depth than you thought there was. And Runkels especially does this great. And at the beginning, it feels like it's almost like, oh, this must be a product of his time. It's kind of like this racist caricature, not necessarily racist, but what's the word is like not depth, like two-dimensional caricature of playing into somebody's. What's the things that I want to give like an example, like stereotypes. That's the word I was looking for. It looks like it's a stereotype character, right? But this is done with all. So Runkels is not the only one. But this is gonna be this. This might be, because I was always like, maybe this. I mean, it was in the 1930s. The guy wrote it. It could easily be very like there could be questionable stuff like from that time. And Runkels really seems like that in the beginning, but and a lot of the characters, even the Afrikaans characters, you're stereotyping very much, but he never allows a character to stay there. And how Runkels is revealed slowly for you, all the things about him, and I like him because he's kind of supposed to be like a sangoma, a witch doctor. It's a South African witch doctor. Yeah, something like this, a sangoma, and he's but in the way Runkels is revealed and stuff. It is and you realize, oh no, he's by far he's outsmarting everybody on every level here. A fascinating character, way beyond anything you could believe. It's unbelievable. And then all the other characters in here, wonderful. And like how they beliefs, and they will be stationed. Hendrik van der Berg. He's like this. He becomes like a prophet leader of this group of tracking boers, and it's fascinating to see how the man changes from the beginning to later on in the thing. There's stuff that happens here that shocked me. That shocked me completely. Right, and I will also say that there's the most gruesomest death scene I've ever read was in this book. It was, and it's something that will probably never happen. It might happen to 2 or 3 people in human history. Might have experienced something similar like their death, but it is possible to happen, and it has happened in Africa. It can happen to you if you're in the wrong situation, the wrong place, and it's grisly and horrific and brutal. And yet, that is not the thing about that death scene that stays with you. What really stays with you is the character that dies in it, and the tragedy and heartbreak of this character's ultimate fate, and why this came about, and everything that happened there. And it really it breaks you, and the effect it has on the characters around this character. Stewart is a master, and there's so many things happening at the same time. There's a lot of storylines that he kind of but he pulls them all together at the end. This book reads for me way more like a grim dark. It feels like a grim dark fantasy, and there's fantastical elements. Runkels definitely plays into that. It's like you legitimately don't know at some points if is this stuff magic, or is this just being manipulated in the perfect way. And Stuart Clifford is very vague. He doesn't want to give you the answer there. Because, yeah, and you can tell this is a guy that really lived in South Africa, and he really experienced the people, and really, it took his time to get to know everybody and like get a sense of them. Whoever point of view you see it from, you're gonna see it from their perspective. Although it is third person point of view, you're still gonna be in their minds and their perspective and how they think about a thing. And then it changes. It's like, oh no, this is what you thought, and this is what this character thinks, but this is more accurate. And it keeps wrong footing you like that in this perfect, brilliant way. Now I have to and the events, and you can also tell when it comes to the battles and stuff, you can tell this is a guy that lived through battles and lived through World War One. The stuff is rough but fascinating, and the strategies. There's some brilliant strategy stuff happening in here that is stunning. It does remind me a bit of Malazan and Game of Thrones in how that plays out and stuff. But if I have to say what a type of writer I think Stuart Clute is, how it feels, I think, yes, you definitely feel a little bit of Erickson and a little bit of George R. R. Martin in this writing style, even though this predates it long ago, and I doubt if they knew it, Jim and Fred. So I don't say he influenced them, I don't. It's just people write this style, right? But if I had to take another way to explain his writing style and how it felt to me, especially in the beginning, is if you took Louis L'Amour and you took Stephen King and you mixed those two together and you put it, and they were writing stories about South Africa and the Groot Track and the age of pioneering, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what's the problem. That is how it feels. Now, Turning Wheels, stunning, brilliant. I will say this, especially if you're South African, there's the word. We all know the word. There's a word in South Africa, a racist word, and it's constantly used. I mean, it's probably over 100 times you'll read that book in here, if not more. And it's because, and you can tell it's very deliberately that he decided to use it, because he wants us. Stuart Clute wants us to remember, even if you like these people, you have to remember their point of view. You have to remember that they're racist. Now, I can see how that can become too rough for some people to read, like, yo, man, that I can't read that word that much. So that is, I will warn you, that word's going to be in here, and it's going to be in here a lot. Because Stuart Clute doesn't want you to ever forget that these people are still very racist. They are still, and it's never a straightforward type of racism. It's not like I just hate white people hating black people hating one. No, it's never that simple. It is complex. It is like, and this is what he does. This is another thing he does. Every character's racism takes kind of a different form, and that's because racism never seems to take the same form with two people. It's always confusing, and that it represents these people so clearly and brilliantly, and even and they're religious, because they were always very, very religious people, a lot of them. But how that's also seen differently, and how people and how they interpret happenings in different religious manners and events. The last thing I want to say one thing. This book was banned in South Africa when it came out in 1937. The reason given for this book being banned is there's a interracial relationship which was illegal in South Africa at that time. Or if it wasn't illegal yet, it was going to be illegal very soon, and it was very frowned upon. That was South Africa. I mean, this is separate well, segregation is in full fledged at this point in South Africa, and we're very close to when the apartheid era starts. Right, the apartheid era starts like a little bit after World War II. This is right before World War II. So we're already going straight into that one. And this is also it's during the Herzog years. Herzog is in charge in South Africa. He was already one of the ones that were moving in that way. Right? So this is a type of book that will at times will Stuart Cliff really didn't write this to make anybody happy. He was like, no, this is what I know, this is what I've experienced, this is what I'm going to tell, this is what I've realized about it. And he goes into real details, the struggles, like pests with the animals. It tells everything. It's such a sweeping, and it's not that big, it's like 378, but it's really a sweeping epic of this period in time in South Africa. And it's done brilliantly. It is mostly, like 95%, are told from the perspective of the white trackers. Maybe even 97%. It's like, but I mean, he always gives you a little bit more fleshing out of the other characters than you would expect. And very interesting. Yeah. And it goes to places you wouldn't expect. I was shocked several times with the events that were taking place in this book. He really didn't shy away. He didn't shy away from it. Really, really fascinating, great. I had an amazing time with this. It blew my mind. And I will say this, I had bought 3 more books of Stuart Clutter after I read The Soldier's Preachers. This was one of them. I was halfway through that and I went to look for more. And I also had to get them secondhand, except for one that I am still on its way, but I was able to order that still in print. And I bought 12 more. Well, actually, 13 more Stuart Clutter books. This is an all-time offer for me. I want to read everything he's ever written. I even got like the memoirs he wrote of himself and like non-fiction stuff he wrote. He has become an all-time. He's for me a must-read. In the level like Stephen Erickson is a must-read. And how I would love to try and get to all of Stephen King's stuff. Stuart Clutter is up there. He's up there. I cannot. And to think, a year ago, I didn't even know this guy ever existed. That blew my mind.